Hi there, this is Mr. H with some thoughts on Hour by Caroline Duffy. There's the text, let's have a read of it. Hour. Love's time's beggar, but even a single hour, bright as a dropped coin, makes love rich. We find an hour together, spend it not on flowers or wine, but the whole of the summer sky and a grass ditch. For thousands of seconds we kiss, your hair like treasure on the ground, the Midas light turning your limbs to gold. Time slows, for here we are millionaires, backhanding the light, so nothing dark will end our shining hour. No jewel hold a candle to the cuckoo spit hung from the braid of grass at your ear. No chandelier or spotlight see you better lit than here. Now, time hates love, wants love poor, but love spins gold, gold, gold from straw. Now, the first thing to notice about this is the rhyme scheme. It's a typical Shakespearean one. We've got hour, flower, rich, ditch, hair, here, light, night, hour, ear, spit, lit, pour, straw. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G, G. Now that's significant because, as I say, it's the rhyme scheme that Shakespeare used in his sonnets. And of course Shakespeare's sonnets are some of the most famous love poems in the English language. So immediately it's placing this poem in that tradition. And if you were to go and have a look at some of Shakespeare's sonnets, particularly some of the early ones at the beginning of the collection, they're on the theme of love versus time. The idea is that time is against love, because time, of course, makes us age, takes us towards death, and so eventually will take our beloved away from us. And it's that contrast between time taking away the time that lovers have, which is at the centre of this poem as well. One way to see that is to look at some of the binary opposites in the poem, and another way is to look at some of the semantic fields. So let's start with semantic fields. First of all, there is a semantic field of time. We've got hour, time, hour, hour once again. Then we've got seconds. Then we have a bit further down, we've got night, we've got time, and again we've got hour. And so we can see, and then time at the end, and then the word now. So there's definitely a semantic field to do with time in this poem. There's also a semantic field connected with money and treasure. And so if we look at, we've got these words coin, rich, spend, and then a little bit further down we've got treasure. We've got Midas, of course, who in Greek mythology was doomed to turn everything he touched into gold. So there's a mythological connection there. Then we've got this word gold, millionaires. And then we've got jewels, of course, which are precious as well. Chandeliers, typically quite like treasure, glittering like jewels as well. And then we've got this idea of poorness at the end. So there's another semantic field. And then a third semantic field is we've got a semantic field of the natural world. And so we've got flowers, we've got sky, we've got summer connected to the seasons and thus to nature. We've got grass. What else have we got? We've got light, which I guess is provided by the sun in this poem and is therefore natural. We've got cuckoo spit. That's that strange white froth that you sometimes find underneath leaves and underneath flowers. It's and on grass. It's actually produced by little aphids, a little green fly. And then we've got blade of grass, another natural image. And then at the very end of the poem we've got straw. And so we've got these three different semantic fields. And I guess there's another one because there's also a semantic field here to do with the human body. And so we've got hair, we've got limbs, we've got ear. And are there any others? I think that's the main one. I suppose kiss involves lips, doesn't it? So it's not, as you can see, it's not as much of a semantic field, but it is important. So there's semantic fields. Now, let's think a little bit about the structure of the poem. You can see that the references to time and the use of numbers increase through the poem. So we start out an hour, just 1 hour, single hour, the word single making it seem as if there's not much time. This idea of finding an hour together makes it seem as if time is difficult to come by. Perhaps these people are very busy and find it difficult to find each other, or perhaps it's because this is a lesbian relationship and therefore it's hard to find time. But then notice that we've then got thousands of seconds, and because we're now measuring in a smaller unit of time, the number goes up to thousands, and so it seems that there is more time available. Then time slows, or I guess seems to slow for the lovers, and so time is available more. And then just notice how we've got this another number going up here. So numbers increase as the poem goes on. We'll see the significance of that in a moment. Now, let's just get rid of those highlights. If we look at the poem as a whole, we find that there are a number of binary opposites that are going to be important to understanding what's going on. So, first of all, one of the binary opposites is we have nature versus culture, which here comes out in things, well, it comes out as in nature versus money, because money, of course, is made by humans, it's not natural. And so we've got money versus nature. We've also got light versus dark. That's a binary opposite in the poem. We've also got love versus hate. And as I said, we've got this opposition between nature and culture here, represented by straw being nature, gold being culture. And so the idea here, I guess, is that love transforms things. It turns the natural world into treasure. It turns straw into gold. It turns the human body to gold. It turns hair into treasure. And so that seems to be a very positive transformation. But do bear in mind that Midas had problems because the people he loved turned to solid gold, and that caused him problems in his relationship. Now, I said that the poem dealt with a conflict between time and love. And we can see that conflict throughout the poem. It comes up in the fact that it's difficult to find time to be together. We find an hour together, but clearly that wasn't easy. And so in the first stanza, time threatens to defeat love because love simply doesn't have the time it needs. Now, love then wins a little bit in the next stanza because they kiss for thousands of seconds. So love seems to be getting the better of time there, and so time slows. Perhaps that's time being defeated a little bit. And then at the end, time hates love. Why? Because time wants to, it wants to kill us. Eventually we all die, we all run out of time. But also the lovers will be defeated because they can't always be together. The time they've got will run out. But love wins. Why? Because love turns the most basic of things, the most natural of things, straw, and turns it into gold, gold, gold. So even if you don't have much time together, the message of this poem is that that time becomes precious and it transforms things. And this is one of many poems in the collection that looks at the transformative power of love, how it turns how it transforms things and makes them more precious. Now, what would different sorts of critics say about this poem? Well, I suppose a Marxist, obviously, will note here that treasure is to do with money and therefore to do with power, and that love here is giving people power. It might say that this is a very consumerist poem from a Marxist point of view. Why is it that treasure and money is here being seen as better than the natural world. You could even become a green eco-critic here and try to reverse this and say that no, the poem's got it wrong. The natural world is in fact more valuable than treasure. So it'd be interesting to see what a green politician would make of this poem. What else? Well, I suppose a feminist might want to talk about the way that human sexuality is being valued here. Notice that traditional cliches of romance have been rejected. We're not going for wine and flowers, we're going for the summer sky and a grass ditch, which might imply that one of the lovers is on their back as they make love on the ground. Notice how sex there is being connected with the natural world. It's implying that human sexuality is good, is natural, there's nothing wrong with it. And perhaps it's that sexual contact, the kissing, which has the transformative power, making people millionaires. Notice the hyperbole, the exaggeration in that word, millionaires. Now let's have a look at how this binary opposition between light and dark is working, because light picks up the imagery of gold, picks up the imagery of jewels, and it's that light, it's that sparkling which defeats the darkness, because we've got backhanding the light, defeating the darkness. Nothing dark will end our shining hour, which could be symbolic, meaning that death will not overcome the power of love. And that opposition between light and dark is picked up in the fact that we don't need chandeliers or spotlights, we don't need artificial man-made light, because love produces its own light. So final thing I want to say, there's an intertextual reference at the end. This image of spinning gold, gold, gold from straw, of course, is a fairy tale image. Comes from the story of Rumpelstiltskin, where the little man in the fairy tale spins straw into gold on a spinning wheel. You can look up the story. It's in the Brother Grimm's fairy tales, the Kind und Hausmärchen in German. So, to sum up, in this poem, love defeats time. And that's, of course, deeply ironic in this collection, because eventually the relationship ends and they run out of time. Anyway, I hope that's given you a few ideas about the poem. I hope that you can develop that reading further for yourself, and I hope that you can link it to other poems in the collection.